Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Peter Cantor and I'm the editor-in-chief at FindBiometrics, where it's Enterprise Biometrics Month, presented in partnership with ISC West. Due to concerns over the COVID-19 coronavirus, ISC West has been postponed and will be taking place July 20th to 22nd. In the meantime, we're taking the converged security conversation virtual here at ID Talk, interviewing leaders in Enterprise Biometrics, and later this month, presenting a podcast version of our panel, Understanding Security, Convenience, and Privacy in Today's Biometric Systems, which was originally scheduled for the conference. Today we set the stage for that podcast panel by once again welcoming BioConnect's CEO and Chairman Rob Douglas, along with BioConnect's CTO and CISO Courtney Gibson, to ID Talk. In conversation with my ID Talk co-host Susan Stover, Douglas and Gibson shed light on the approximate identity crisis facing enterprises that rely solely on key fobs and key cards for access control, delving into an experiment they conducted on an automated key copying kiosk. The conversation turns to the ins and outs of BioConnect's unified mobile access solution, and it concludes with a preview of our ISC West virtual panel, as well as the virtual trade show event BioConnect is holding in lieu of the Vegas conference. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to present BioConnect CEO and Chairman Rob Douglas with BioConnect CTO and CISO Courtney Gibson on the ID Talk podcast.
Today I'm joined by Rob Douglas, BioConnect's founder, chairman, and CEO, and Courtney Gibson, CTO and CISO at BioConnect. Welcome to the podcast.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much, Susan.
One of the most common aspects in physical security in any building today is the key fob. Broadly, what are the security issues inherent to fob and prox card-based security systems?
Well, this is an issue that we've been focused on for probably at least 15 years, and the thing that's striking about it is it's actually getting worse. And so, just by way of introduction, what we look at is the fob and the prox card are, unsecure credentials. In fact, on the back of your prox card is the actual serial number of the card, and as a result of that, both of these can be easily duplicated. We used to think that these were credentials that I could hand over to somebody, and now they could behave as me, getting in and around facilities. But it's gotten much worse than that now. It's now you can go into any convenience store and have these credentials replicated for about $30 or less. Just in a kiosk. There's now going to be 20,000 of these kiosks around the country, all 7-Eleven stores and many other retail operations are getting these automated locksmith kiosks put into them, and like anybody can just walk in there and replicate their fob or their card.
I think one of the real challenges, there's a lot of benefits to fob-based systems in terms of ease of use and reliability. But I think broadly one of the problems that we're trying to address is that these fobs are basically today, for many people, they're effectively your username and your password. And when someone can duplicate your username and your password onto another piece of plastic and start walking around with it, as a corporation, you lose control over key control for your company, and if bad actors are able to get a hold of somebody's fob and duplicate it, not only do you lose key control for your staff, but you may have outside people start to get access to your premise as well.
If I could just add another comment to that, is that this is analogous to sitting down at your computer and actually writing out on a yellow sticky your ID and your password and just sticking it on your computer. Mm-hmm. And allowing people to make copies of that yellow sticky. It's analogous to that.
In a recent video published by BioConnect, we see Stephen Heather, strategic account manager at BioConnect, demonstrating how easy it is to duplicate a key fob at a general store with no questions asked. Even as the security experts, what was the most surprising aspect of the fob duplication demonstration?
What was most surprising is how easy it is. There's virtually no friction. You literally can go online to Google, type in where can I get my key fobs duplicated. In our case, when we did that, there were 6 convenience stores, all within a 15-minute drive from where we're located in order to do it. The one he actually went to was like a 5-minute walk from our office. And so we're just blown away at how easy it is for anyone to go and replicate their key fob or their card.
I agree. I think what's really shifted here in terms of surprise on our side is just really the velocity with which this has become automated and so widely available.
How widely known is the security vulnerability among bad actors?
Well, that's a great question. I want to answer the question by answering two questions. How widely known is this by security professionals of physical buildings? It's not known. We were just at a national security event by one of the large access control manufacturers, all of their customers and associated partners. And 1 block away from the event we were at is one of those kiosks. And one of my colleagues and I went and videoed the duplication of the key fob and brought it back to this audience. And there was virtually nobody in the room that had any idea that this was now possible. And so and then at the other hand, so the people protecting these facilities have no idea how easy this is and how accessible it is. My sense is the bad actors probably don't know. They probably know more right now than the security professionals do. And I'm saying that because they're the ones that are likely going in and out of the 7-Eleven stores maybe more frequently and are now a witness to the fact that this dispensing capability is available. But one thing's for sure, if you're a bad actor and you know you can do this is like open season for not cyber attacks, but rather physical attacks.
Right. And I think there have been products on the market for years now that provide this sort of duplication. You can buy reprogrammable cards online. This is something that has been quietly building for a while, but I think the velocity of this has changed dramatically in the last few months.
It strikes me as an incredibly urgent security vulnerability. How common is it for an enterprise to have a single-factor fob or card-based security system, and what generally keeps them from upgrading their access system?
Well, unfortunately, it's still, here we are in the year 2020. You'd think it would be past this now, but it's incredibly common. It's not uncommon for an enterprise with 50,000 employees to have cards being issued to all of those employees. And every year, about 40% of those cards are being lost and being replaced. So if you look at over a 5-year period of time, you have hundreds of thousands of cards that are being issued for 50,000 people in one enterprise. And whether it's a card or key fob, they fundamentally are performing the same function. So it's remarkable that this is still the case. And the reason why are we still dealing with this weak security feature, it's because the cost associated with upgrading to a more secure credentialing system is high enough that it is a hard ROI for the enterprise to, in essence, rip and replace their infrastructure for access control in order to upgrade to a more secure solution.
And I think related to that is, as Rob mentioned, credential loss is a common occurrence in business. People lose cards, they're canceled, and they're reissued. One of the problems, though, is that the enterprises are typically issued boxes of cards that have sequential numbers in them. And if someone loses card 1,000 and they issue card 1,001 to the next employee, that lost credential, if it falls into someone's hands who has access to one of these these card duplication machines, duplicating card 1,000 or just simply adding a couple of numbers onto it and coming up with 1,001 or 1,002, I can take a lost credential and with pretty good probability create a forged credential that's probably some other employee's card and still have the ability to get into buildings. So this isn't a risk just for that card. It's a risk for the whole enterprise when credentials start to get lost because there's, at the end of the day, there's just a number on these cards.
Organizations need to look at security from a holistic standpoint. There should not be sharp divisions between digital and physical security measures. Both need to work together to protect valuable data and infrastructure from being exposed. The future of physical security is here. BioConnect brings two-factor mobile authentication to physical spaces, including doors, data centers, network closets, and data rooms. Users simply walk up, tap their access card, complete a step-up authentication on their mobile device, and gain access. The low-cost retrofit solution can be installed in under 30 minutes and works on a smart, rules-based policy to help organizations meet privacy, security, and compliance policies and regulations. Keep your organization and its facilities secure. To learn more, visit bioconnect.com/unified/find-biometrics. And now, back to the podcast.
The fob clone video offers BioConnect step-up mobile authentication as a solution to this security emergency. How can BioConnect technology be implemented to augment these more traditional and vulnerable security systems?
I think when we started to look at this problem, we wanted to address it in a way which added as little impact and as little friction to the end users as possible. There are a lot of people today that have cards, have readers, have solutions in place to protect their buildings. And rather than replace that, we wanted to strengthen it in a way that people would accept and would use as part of their daily security practices. So the way we built our new Link solution is to integrate into existing systems. And earlier, I sort of used the analogy of usernames and passwords and said, today, these cards are both the username and the password for people who are walking through the doors. And in essence, what we're doing is we're providing a simple, easy-to-consume retrofit solution that allows you to use your phone as the password, as that missing piece in the system. You can still use your cards. We can better secure the system with an easy retrofit. And it protects people from losing credentials, forged credentials, other tokens being presented that might create a risk.
What is the user experience of authenticating with BioConnect as part of a workday?
The experience really varies based on the nature of the place that the company needs to protect. If this is a high security server room, this is a protection that could be turned on all the time. If this is a high-use common door that during business hours is well monitored by other means, the user experience may not change at all. But the user's experience is they walk up and interact with the doors as they do today. They present a card, tap that on the door or tap it on a server cabinet. Their phone comes up using either our own application or another one that these employees are already using, and just adds a second factor. You tap your card, your phone lights up, you confirm that it's you, and the door opens. As I say, for server rooms, that might be all day long. For the front door of the building, it might be after hours to protect against a card falling out of somebody's pocket in the parking lot. But we try to change the user experience as little as possible. We're putting a lot of extra security on.
And what is the onboarding process like?
The benefit of retrofitting into systems that people are already using means that in many cases there is no additional onboarding. We're using tools that employees are already using today in order to really minimize there being any onboarding. We've had a lot of success with customers who have taken the solution in. We're using cards that they're using today. We're using readers that they're using today. We're using mobile 2FA solutions that people are using today, which means there's no new deployment of credentials, there's no new deployment of software, there's no new user training. The onboarding process becomes quite simple because we're simply repurposing tools that people have in their toolbox already.
BioConnect's unified mobile access solution goes beyond preventing bad actors from duplicating keys, but also offers custom configuration for security administration. How can enterprise security benefit from rule-based access?
I think there's a couple of ways that they can see that benefit. Today, we have granularity just around time of day. We can provide different levels of protection at different times, depending on the needs of the business. And that's sort of the first layer of rule-based access, is just simply defining the criticality of your resources and when and where they need to be protected. This system also creates a data flow which doesn't exist today between physical security systems and digital security systems. Companies spend a lot of resources today to provide monitoring and intrusion detection on their digital resources. You know who's trying to get into your VPNs, into your firewalls, into your desktops, and being able to leverage a data flow from the physical systems into your digital systems means that you now have visibility and total situational awareness around both your physical plant and your digital footprint as well. And going forward, we're talking with customers who are really interested in creating unified access control policies between physical and digital spaces, asking valid questions like, should people be allowed to log into my desktop if they're not in the building today? Or should they be able to access files or secure directories or printers or these sort of things? And we are actively looking at building out these digital physical policies to, again, provide better security both to people but also their digital work product.
Organizations need to look at security from a holistic standpoint. There should not be sharp divisions between digital and physical security measures. Both need to work together to protect valuable data and infrastructure from being exposed. The future of physical security is here. BioConnect brings two-factor mobile authentication to physical spaces, including doors, data centers, network closets, and data rooms. Users simply walk up, tap their access card, complete a step-up authentication on their mobile device, and gain access. The low-cost retrofit solution can be installed in under 30 minutes and works on a smart, rules-based policy to help organizations meet privacy, security, and compliance policies and regulations. Keep your organization and its facilities secure. To learn more, visit bioconnect.com/unified/find-biometrics. And now, back to the podcast.
Now, ISC West has been postponed from March until July. We understand that you are hosting a virtual trade show on the BioConnect website. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I think there's, because of the worldwide challenges we're interacting with right now around the coronavirus, we're actually creating a digital trade show. What we're going to expect from us is, I think that the company, we've now figured out how to cost effectively unify digital and physical authentication across the enterprise. This is one of these things that the industry has been trying to solve a long time. And we have found, I think, a very novel way of being able to solve it that leverages everything that the enterprise is already using today, digitally and physically, to make that happen, as Courtney's just been talking about. The other thing is that we're very deep in the world of biometrics. So whether it's in your eye, your face, your voice, your behavior, we have very strong capabilities. And so we'll be showcasing the latest in biometric technologies for physical access to your doors as well as your server cabinets, and using other trust techniques in order to have a lower cost way of bringing authentication to doors that can't justify the expense of putting in dedicated biometric devices, including part of our link solution is we're bringing for the first, I think we'll be first to market with this, is bringing biometrics to your mobile device. So you can be authenticating with face recognition to get into doors or server cabinets. And then maybe the last comment I'll offer is that the world of server cabinets is the last bastion of trust. Right now, pretty much all server cabinets in the world are still controlled by just door handles or by keys. And we have brought to market a link solution for cabinetry, which allows you to have much higher levels of trust authentication to who's getting actually access to these particular server cabinets.
In lieu of the physical panel at ISC West, we'll be presenting Understanding Convenience, Security, and Privacy in Today's Biometric Systems as a virtual panel on our ID Talk podcast. Now, Rob, you're one of our expert panelists, and you and I will be talking about a number of topics around privacy and the convergence of digital and physical security. What are some major talking points you will want to emphasize during our panel?
I think the most important one is we figured it out. We as an industry have figured out how to converge digital and physical security. The amount of years that people have been trying to work this particular issue has just been in excess of 10 years. So first message is, okay, this problem has now been solved, and there's a very straightforward way to be able to unify authentication digitally and physically. I think that's a really important point that we would want the marketplace to know. The second is, in particular, relative to biometric information, is we've also figured out a way to make it private so that all the personally identifiable information about the person remains inside and behind the firewall of the enterprise. And any information that's been communicated to cloud-based services it's the tokenization of the PII, and the PII itself will remain on-prem. So I think that's also another important piece. I think the third one is these systems are now getting very large and very scalable. And in BioConnect's case, I believe we're probably likely the largest platform provider of biometric deployments for global scale. So people are now looking at not only high security, but how do I scale these things across large populations of buildings around the globe. And these systems have now really scaled up when I think of where they are today to where they were in the past.
So concludes Susan Stover's conversation with BioConnect's Rob Douglas and Courtney Gibson. Learn more about the topics discussed in this episode by visiting bioconnect.com/unified/find-biometrics. And stay tuned to ID Talk in the coming weeks for more interviews with Enterprise Biometrics experts, as well as our virtual podcast panel, Understanding Security, Convenience, and Privacy in Today's Biometric Systems. I would like to thank Rob and Courtney once again for joining us on today's episode. I want to thank Susan Stover for conducting it. Our podcast theme music is by Logomrad. My name is Peter Counter. Thank you for listening to the ID Talk podcast.